So let's start our very first LAB8 Play webinar. Anne, question to you. Tell us something about yourself. Please introduce yourself to our lovely audience. When did it all start? How did you get the interest in this area?
Yeah, that's a good question. Thanks, Dominika. I try to keep it short, so we will have time for other questions as well. But my story and my background as a story designer is in TV and film. I started working in Finnish TV back in 1997 as production assistant. And I had already then studied audiovisual marketing, and then I continued and studied 4 years to become a media producer. And I actually worked quite a long time in Helsinki in TV and media field. So that's my background, and maybe if I share the screen, so I continue my story from there. So you can probably see my...
Yes, we can see it's all clear.
Yeah, let's see.
So you've started your media career pretty early, I would say, like quite some time ago.
Yeah. I was 19. I was something like on my 20s then, back in 1997, and then I moved to Helsinki, and then I had my kind of this. I was turning 30, and I was having this 30 kind of crisis, thinking that this TV and film thing is not what I want to do, that there is something else for me. And then as a part of my Tarina Kone story sheep story, I tell this story that I sat in a 3T tram in Helsinki, and then what happened, I found this common red thread, and surprisingly there in the tram then I found also who appeared in this tram was my fictional boss, Story Sheep. And this Story Sheep had a message not for me but all of us, that we need to start using this dramatic storytelling, the storytelling that I had learned in this TV and film world. We should start using it in totally new way and start creating these story experiences for our customers, and start using core story as a tool to design the customer experience into a story experience. So that's how, in this kind of a story, core story in my
of course
in my company, the story goes that I found this Story Sheep, and I followed the Story Sheep to University of Jyväskylä, and I started studying different phenomena of creative writing, and then things led to another, and I started my company back in 2008, and I started creating the method of Storification. Back in Jyväskylä, I started working together with service designers, and quite early on in that process, I kind of understood that this is in a ways a method that is under the umbrella of service design, that it's the one way to design services, to design, to create customer experiences, is to do it this way, to use story as a tool for our designing process. So yeah, that's kind of the also the origins of the Storification method, how it all started.
Yes. All right. And it seems that this storytelling, or the sheep is your brand, recognizable brand friend, I would say, or I wouldn't say it's a logo because it's a living mascot. Yeah. So yeah. So How would you then define in few sentences storification? If there would be like, you know, 5 or 7 years old coming like, hey, Aunt Anne, could you tell me what is storification? Could you give us like a definition that we could go with?
Oh, well, maybe I would say that you can tell stories in different ways, but you can also create this story so that we are part of the story. And basically, maybe if I would talk to a 5-year-old, I would say that when you are creating a play or game together with your friends and you are imagining this kind of story world. So nowadays we can do that in a bit same way in the business world. We can create this story around our service experience and use all of that space and these little items and everything that is included in that play or game as part of the story that customers can experience.
That's actually very, very clear. And I have a feeling that nowadays what our customers in the service field are expecting is to have these meaningful encounters and meaningful experiences. And one of the most efficient and the most successful ways is actually to go with storytelling and storification, because we live by stories. Like stories are always around us, right? So it's very creative and innovative to take this approach towards basically making it a business, right? Talking about your business, what was your first win that made you confident that you were doing the right thing? What was that drive of like, yes, I'm on the right path?
Yeah, that's a good question. Also, there might not be like a one big thing, but it's probably many little things that happened on the way. I think that I started seeing that other people were starting to really get also enthusiastic what I was doing, that I could see the same spark that had kind of led in me. It was happening in other people as well when I talked about what I do. So I found those people, and of course, seeing that in my first clients and companies, how they started to see what I meant by using this core story as a tool to do everything around that story. So maybe that was the thing, little things on the way, and also that the service designers in the field and in the Jyväskylä were starting to work together with me. I think that was one of the big things for me and kind of boost my confidence that yes, I'm on the right path. And yes.
So did you feel that by the reaction of people that were around you, that this is actually what's needed, what is attractive for them?
Yes, I think that there was this need was understood. But of course it's not only so like clear. Of course there was a lot of also how to say, as also my like fictional post story sheep says, that we have a lot of these things that when what comes to story we easily say that it's like this only this foolish thing that it has nothing to do with our business, and bit like we say like sheep is something like just a coward sheep, nothing to do with our business and nothing useful what comes to business. So maybe that's something that there is that we need to work on when we talk about storification, and what was something that was happening, that people have these ideas that maybe they don't see the connection to the business so easily. But I think that those who are pioneers and who are aware of where the business world is going, as you said, in everything we do, to meaningful, to human, to engaging experience, they do understand. But of course, 10 years ago, the situation was a bit different.
Yes, I can imagine that, definitely. So it's like taking this not obvious approach to not obvious elements and then putting them all together, right? But you said it's 10 years, been 10 years ago. You pioneered the storification in Finland. So what I'm thinking about is what were the challenges to bring this this topic to the market, and what are also the everyday challenges that now you are facing? Like what was then and what is now the challenge for you?
Mm-hmm. I think, of course, from the from entrepreneurial point of view, the challenge was then, of course, that I was unknown. Nobody knew what I was doing. Storification was totally new. I had like no references and nothing to prove my work. Nowadays, of course, the situation is different. I have done the book about the method, and I have done 100 course stories and hundreds of story workshops around Finland. So of course that makes it totally different from that point of view. But the everyday challenges, I think, in other ways, they are still the same. Still, everyday challenges are that I need to work on this, that people understand the difference between storytelling and storification, and that they understand the value that this can bring to their business.
Yeah, does it happen often that storification is used in the same way as storytelling, that people are thinking like it's the same?
Yeah, I think in the business field, there is quite a lot of this happening, this kind of, that it's getting mixed, and they are used as like is it like a synonym in English? And that's something that, of course, I'm not very happy about, because I have, I think that the storification was the word that was almost not at all used back in the 10 years ago. And when we see also in the international world, international business world, that is not so much used in the field of business. So I thought that's a good word that we could use as a sister to gamification, that we would talk about the storification when we are referring to creating this kind of this story experience, which people can be part of.
Absolutely.
So yeah, that might be something.
Yeah, thank you. So maybe what I would like to do is to go more onto the more theoretical part of storification. What is the process of designing the story for a service? So you have a customer that comes and they say like, we would like to hire you to use your services. Where do you start? How does this work?
Yeah, how does the method work? Yes, that's a good question. Let's see, maybe we use some of my slides here a bit. Here is the slide where we have this process of storification. So basically, it all starts with the company defining the story elements for the core story. So that's what we should do first. And then there we can use this story tree method that I have created, so that we are really much connecting the story elements to our business why and the feelings and emotions that we want to create, and what's different about our business, and who is the customer that we are offering our services, our customer experience So all of that we need to know, and we need to be very clear on, because what can happen is that the story is not kind of linked into our business nicely enough. So that's why we do the story tree process first. Then we create the core story, and then we can create the story identity book for the whole company, and then physical and digital story stages, how the story is happening in everything we do. And this is very much, I think, one book that influenced me a lot back in when I started was Joe Bynes and James Gilmore's Experience Economy. And of course, that's very much the book where all of this kind of experience economy thinking kind of comes from. So very much based on also those ideas, we needed to have this story world, the physical, digital, and then create these story paths, story journeys, and turn these customer journeys into engaging story journeys. So this is kind of the different phases of the storification process.
What would you say is which of these steps is the most challenging, the most time consuming? Because you said that the story tree, the first step is that when the company comes to you and they have to say what they want, right? But what if they don't know what they want? Because they have to identify the core story that is aligned with their business, right?
Yes.
So what if the company doesn't really know, or what if they want to reinvent themselves completely?
Yeah, we can use this story tree to do that also, but maybe in some ways I would say that as a story designer, for me, the place where when I can help companies is when they know what they are doing, in a way. They know what their business is, they know what's the product, they know what's the customer, and what they want to do, what's their vision, where they want to go.
So they have to put some effort already. Yes.
They need to know that, and then I can help them to create the core story around that. So, but of course, story tree has been used quite a lot also with startup companies and all of that. I have worked quite a lot with starting companies as well, and they have find it useful also in the starting point to define the story elements and define the core story, and it can help them to take the business plan further as well. So that's but maybe, of course, because it's the most important thing is this core story work, because that's the basis of everything. And then creating the story identity book is the kind of guidelines. And of course, what's time consuming, as you asked, maybe time consuming is this what's happening here when we are creating story stages and creating this story paths and turning our service experiences into story. This is ongoing process. This is something that evolves and goes kind of lives all the time, and we need to maybe change our story stage a bit and so.
Okay, great. You mentioned that you've been working with the startup companies and a lot of companies pretty much. So could you give us examples of companies that use storification well, that actually, that just use it well?
Yeah, there is of course, in tourism, I think we have been able to take we have taken the storification quite far. And in Finland, we have quite a good examples from our tourism companies in Lapland, let's say Santa Park and maybe Santa's office and Snowman World, which is one of my own clients as well. So there is quite a lot of this story world created, and also services and restaurants and food design and the customer journeys turned into a story in that world. But overall, I think where I see is the most business value in storification, there is still so much more we can do. I have had some good experiences also with business to business companies, and they have been able to take it quite far also. But there is still a lot to do, and that's why I am at this point I am very much interested in working together with my service designer partners, other companies who can help companies take this storification further, because I am mostly concentrated on coaching and taking this storification, helping people to understand what is storification, and then creating the core stories. But this is more, yeah, what the service designers and experienced designers and so on can help companies with.
Okay, I feel that Lapland has a lot of potential, especially due to the fact that it's like very Santa Claus oriented and Christmas oriented. So, yeah. But not only, there is many more elements to go. A little bit of a change of topic. We are facing a very difficult time now with the ongoing pandemic of COVID-19. So I wanted to ask you, how do you see the future of storification? How does the ongoing pandemic affected your business and the storification world, and how do you see the business after we are out of the pandemic, since there have been some information about the vaccine now? So what is your opinion on that?
Yeah, let's start from my own business point of view. I must say that I'm very lucky for that, because I have been able to do my work also online. Of course, I have learned a lot during this COVID-19 time also about this digital working, and I have also done these core story projects for some companies totally working online, and that has been kind of say very good experience for me, because at this point I am working to take this storification and storification online courses also international. So I am very happy myself about that. But at the same time, I'm very sad, because of course seeing the troubles with the tourism especially of course with a lot of companies, but especially tourism companies, which is very dear field for me, because I mostly work with tourism. So it's been very sad, of course. But at the same time, of course, there is a lot we can learn and lot new things. And storification, I think, can help us also create this combination, like combining this digital and physical world together. With storification, this kind of story-driven design process, we can kind of combine digital and physical together. And of course, we need storytelling and storification kind of engage our customers also during this time, to create this story content to make our customers engage with us also now that we cannot be physically connected. And maybe after COVID-19, what we are doing after, maybe one thing is that was thinking about this, we can have these maybe when we are having these smaller groups, and we are quite used to thinking story, especially when we talk about storytelling, not so much storification, but storytelling, we are used to thinking that in tourism, that we have this guide who is like telling the story, speaking
Yes.
the story out. That is kind of the typical kind of idea we have when we start talking about story in tourism. And so I think that because in storification, we are creating the story experience so that there does not need to be any person who is talking the story, speaking the story.
Mm-hmm.
The story is happening there with everything we have designed into the hotel room. What are the messages there? What kind of maybe AR or what material we can scan and watch through our mobile phones when we are walking from place to another. So I think that's something that storification can help quite a lot. We can design these experiences for smaller groups so that the story is happening in everything that is designed into the experience. Okay.
So now the interesting thought you said about this that there is not one person that is telling the story, but storification is in essence the whole journey that a customer will take, and it involves all the elements that will connect to the main story and create the general understanding of the concept, right?
Yeah.
Right. All right.
Yeah.
Well, I think we all hope that the future will bring more innovation and usage of storification and storytelling, since that's going to be needed afterwards, definitely.
I think definitely it will happen, and I'm happy that that there is a lot of like creativity and creative entrepreneurs. And of course, I think creativity is something that, of course, creativity needs safety, but at the same time, when we are kind of pushed in a very difficult situation, at the same time, then there usually happens a lot of creativity, a lot of new innovation. So I think that is something that we will definitely see now. And I actually made a video about this pop-up restaurants in Sweden, that they had done these little pop-up restaurants in the hotel for these, like one hotel did for their hotel rooms, these pop-up restaurants for customers. And I think that was quite good example.
Okay. I think, yeah, this is like definitely age of design. We are living in era of designing. And talking about designing, what do you think are the three most essential skills needed to be a successful story designer?
Yes. I think definitely you need to have a good listening skills. To be a good story designer, you need to be a good listener and see little details. And yeah, to be able to like scan what's happening in the company, and you need to be very good at connecting different things together and creating the story where there is no story, in a way that you can like create it from this.
Creating something from scratch.
Yeah, that there are these elements that maybe don't even go together, and then you need to have the skill to find the way they are connected. And yes, that's one. And I think one of the things for story designer, if you're doing this kind of storification work, it's very important to understand that you are doing this as a service for your client, for the company you are doing the work, that this is not your like own this is not your artwork or your own art kind of project, that this is a service that you are doing for this company, and you are trying to doing that for their business purposes. And as a story designer, you need to be able to link together the very business minded head, and then you need to have a very business minded head, and then work with your creativity.
Okay, yeah. So it seems that those are the skills that you definitely need in your everyday life as well. Like the being a great listener, first of all, but they definitely make a lot of sense. So what makes you inspired, or how do you put yourself in this creative process when you start to design a story? Do you use like resources, books, podcasts? What makes you inspired in that sense to go with the story, the process of creating a story design?
Yes, of course. At the same time, as a when you are doing this kind of pioneering work and creating the method, I think what I'm doing and what I'm a bit like crazy about is that you are all the time scanning and reading and finding out what's going on in the business world and what's happening here, and how what you are doing, how what I'm doing is linked into another phenomenon of the business world. And of course being very much trying to see what is happening. But what comes to this, like working together with clients, and how does that happen, and the story, creating the story, I think that's basically it is the listening. You listen to the client, you have the space for that story to happen. And I think the story tree method is quite good in that way, that it gives the structure for the process, but at the same time it allows us to have this flow of this creative work. And so I think what is inspirational, what brings me inspiration, is that every time I have a different client and different company and different project, and then I give the space for the story to come alive.
It's like the story itself already.
Process, and then we see what happens. And maybe there is something that is very important for my work, is that I kind of find out the things about the company, but when I meet the first time with the company owner and their team, I try to keep myself as like a white paper, that everything is possible, and I try to leave all my expectations, or something that I'm expecting something to happen in a certain way, or trying to control the story in any way. So I'm trying to be as open and as free for the process.
Open-minded.
Yeah, open-minded.
Yes. Inspiration. What were the best resources you could recommend to read or to listen to that helped you along the way when you were pioneering the term? I know you mentioned Pine and Gilmore, the Experience Economy book, which has been quite inspirational for you. But are there any other resources that were there with you? on that journey?
Yeah, I try to think about. There's been quite a lot different things, because I'm a bit crazy with that stuff when I go and like jump from things to another and find different things, and we can do so that when we send the material and the email tomorrow to those who have been part of, so I can see if I can bring some links.
That would be amazing, of course.
Yeah, and Vine and Gilmore's experience economy was very important, but also back in the 90s, in the end of the 90s, there was another book. There was Rolf Jensen's Dream Society, shift from imagination. It's shift from information to imagination, if I remember the right title. So that was one of the very important books for me as well. And of course, everything that's been going on in the field of service design, Touchpoint journals and service design network. And of course, I have used quite a lot also my background in TV and film, the script writing books, and Robert McKee's work. And one of my favorite is Christopher Walker's Hero's Journey, and how he's using Hero's Journey structure and all of that. So there's quite a lot of material, of course, available for those who are into storytelling in different forms.
Definitely. Okay, so one more question, and then I already received some questions from our audience, so those will be asked after. What is one of the biggest risks that you've taken during your journey to become a story designer?
Yeah, good questions. I think maybe in the beginning, starting the business, I was quite crazy when I started my business back in 2008, and I have been the full-time entrepreneur since then. That I have worked as a storification expert all of these 12 years now. In the beginning, I think one of the risks that I started to take was that I started to say no all of those people who were asking me to do the storytelling work, so that I started more and more saying that I am concentrated on this new method, and I want to do this kind of storification work and help you design the whole company, everything you do into this kind of story experience. And that's been a risk, especially in the beginning. That was not wise thing to do always for my business, to say no to clients and saying them to go somewhere else, and helping them to find storytelling experts. And of course, quite I don't know if it was a risk, but it was a challenge for me, was when I was writing my book, my Finnish book about storification that came out 2014. I did the book, I worked all the time when I was writing the book. I did storification workshops and work all the time at the same time. And it was a big challenge for me to be able to put that all of this method into such a format that other people will understand, and make it very, very practical and very detailed. In the book, I have opened up the whole method, all of it.
I can imagine that introducing a totally new term to the business is probably one of the risks.
Yeah, it was very scary for me. I was very much feeling the pressure that I need to show that what I'm talking about is really is really practical and is very useful, and is very how to say, rooted in the into the business thinking.
All right, great. Thank you very much for answering all these questions. I will now jump straight to the questions that we've collected from the audience. Of course, due to the time limit, we do not have time to answer all of them. So we've chosen a few that seem to be the most related. There seemed to be a bit of a confusion, I would say. Storytelling and storification. So could you clarify the core principles of storytelling, and what is the connection to storification yet again?
Yeah, let's see. Maybe I have this some slides here. We can use these also. Maybe this slide. Yeah. So storytelling. I think storytelling is this word that we can use. Basically, it's the, how to say, basically everything we do with the story is storytelling. I think that we can in some way see that that's the big umbrella under which is everything we do in storytelling. But of course, we can also see that there is a different ways of using story. And I think we should use these different terms to define the different ways of using story and storytelling. And storytelling, basically, how I see it, is storytelling is stories that are told, stories that we can see, we can hear, we can read. Mm-hmm. And in storytelling, we are more as people, more as passive, just receiving the story, kind of somehow receiving the story. Mm-hmm. But in storification, when we are creating this engaging story experience, it's more of a story that can be experienced, and we can be part of the story and even affect the story somehow, and we can have all of our senses also included and be part of the story experience. Mm-hmm. In that way.
So would you say that storytelling is the there has to be a storytelling in order to transition to storification, because they are still connected, but they are not the same?
Yeah, there needs to be, I don't know if there needs to be storytelling, but yeah, maybe yes, but there needs to be a story, of course. We need to create the core story to use as a tool to design the story experience. But I think this storification is a story that we can experience, we can be part of. And it is connected with the gamification, which is a kind of game we can be part of. Mm-hmm. So story is also this kind of dramatic story.
Great. I hope
this clarifies. I can try to find some articles of mine. I can send you a link to.
Of course. We will get to that towards the end. Another question has been asked. Could you give a concrete example of a storification case?
Yes, I will also, because now of course we don't have time to go all those like little details, but I will send you the links to some of the storification cases. And I have actually just published English interview together with my client Anu Manner from Chessmark about their storification process on my YouTube channel. So we can go and check that. And I am looking forward to sharing more and more interviews together with my clients on my YouTube channel to really make this more practical.
Mm-hmm.
So, but there are some examples here. I don't know, maybe I don't know if a snowman world would be the best, but there is this Arctic Giant, which is a birdhouse hotel built around story of giants, and there are different details and how the story is created. And there we have the characters of the giant are not seen at all, but they are living there, and their lives is seen in the in everything the company is doing, and the way the food design experience is created. There can be like this big bowls, and yeah, everything is like into this giant kind of way. And then, and of course, the snowman world, we talked already a little bit about that. Then, of course, in snowman world, there are these characters, these snowman, and the story around them and why they arrive here in the snowman world. And there is a restaurant called Ensilumi in Finnish. I think it's the first snow, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
In English. And of course, there is different kind of restaurant, also drinks, and the way the food design is done, and what's happening in the snowman world. Of course, that's also happening in the story designed way. Let's see, how could that maybe? And of course, probably those who work in the field of experience design are very much familiar with what the skull mapping is doing.
Yes.
And they are Le Petit Chef Desert, and all of their work is really interesting what comes to this, doing this kind of story designed experience. So if you have not checked this one out, you definitely need to go and check this story designed desert. And there are many other examples of how to use this new technology when you are
Mm-hmm.
creating this kind of experience that can be done in this story designed way.
Right.
So there are some examples about little story doing in practice. But I will put the link and the interviews so you can find more detailed information about storification as well.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Let's.
I hope this helped and brought some understanding also.
Yes, and then we have time for one more question, and that's about storytelling. So let me see. What are then when you are when you are storytelling? What are the principles and the core of storytelling process? That's like still connected to storification.
Of course, I am so much tuned into this storification and thinking through the storification. So it's how to say what when we're talking about storytelling. I think maybe basically remembering the story structure, the beginning, middle, and end, and of course it differs quite much. Quite important is when it comes to what comes to storytelling is the of course also the same thing that is in the storification. What is the purpose of the storytelling we are doing? Why we're doing it? So that's something that you need to think first. And who is this story for? And then, of course, we come to this story structure, beginning, middle, and end, and all of that needs to be included. That needs to be character that is part of the story, that is active in the story, that there is some kind of challenge in the story that is being solved. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I must say that I'm not the storytelling.
You're a story designer, right?
I'm so much into this storification thinking, and trying to get this storification thinking forward. So maybe I'm not the best person to answer to this storytelling.
I think you answered the question still pretty well. So thank you for that. And with this last question, I would like to thank you very much for all the answers and for all the knowledge that you've been sharing to us. This was our first webinar, and as I mentioned, it's not a classic webinar since we wanted to have it more into the conversation type. There will be an email coming to all of our participants where me and Anne will collect all the extra and additional resources and information where you can reach Anne if you would like to have more. If you have more questions, we will provide an email, her website, as well as YouTube channel where you can learn more on the topic. And thank you to everyone who participated. We are more than happy to hear about the feedback that you have. And I would like to mention that this is only the first new type of webinars that LAB8 is introducing, and we will be having those continuing throughout the year. So from this point, I would like to invite you to our gamification in cybersecurity webinar, and that will be happening next week. And more information on that will be provided on our social media channels. So follow those, LAB8 on Facebook and Haaga-Helia as well.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much for being part of, and I will check out the questions that you had on chat, and maybe I try to answer on my social media channels to those questions, maybe on LinkedIn. So please connect with me on LinkedIn as well. I'm very happy to connect with you.
Yes, and there've been also questions. Could we get the slides that you've been having so that our audience could have more of a understanding like to that? So I think we will be able to provide that as well. So the email will be coming latest by the end of this week, so tomorrow evening. Once again, thank you very much. Thank you, Anne. And I wish you all the best with your business, and I hope to really have you back at some point just to chat and see how this developed from the post-COVID era.
Yes, thank you so much, Dominika, for having me as a first guest for Play webinar. It was really fun. So, and remember that one of the main messages of the storification is that you can have, that business can be fun. So have fun with your story.
It's all about fun.
Yeah, it's all about having fun.
All right. Yes.
Thank you so much.
Perfect.